Good morning, everybody. It is morning across the country. Welcome to another episode 31. It's my old football number. I stopped growing after freshman year, so it's my last year of football. But I still remember that I wore number 31. But this is episode number 31 of Meet the Experts. I am your host, Jay Vix, with howto.agency, JVI Mobile, and we help small business owners tell their story. Right, that's really what it's all about. And we've been doing it for the last couple of years through video and all sorts of other fun digital things. And we've got a great guest today, one who I actually know during Meet the Experts, but just somebody I know from outside of the normal confines of Meet the Experts. He's a fellow digital marketer certified partner, which anybody who's watched this or knows me knows that it's a big part of my life, my career, my profession, what I do. But anyway, EJ is he's a dad of 4, husband to 1. He owns and is the CEO of Blaze Digital Solutions. They are just like us, a digital marketing agency. They specialize in the outdoor space, and I kid you not, they are crushing it. I think EJ is just amazing. I learned so much from listening to him. We share things through the Certified Partner Program all the time. He is an avid outdoorsman, and he's serving right now, but he serves in the Utah National Guard. And his goal, which is awesome, lofty, specific, measurable, it's great. He wants to help at least 10 outdoor companies generate 10 million annually online within the next 10 years. Lots of tens there. But without further ado, let me go ahead and bring up my buddy EJ. How the heck are you, my friend?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Appreciate you having me here.
Absolutely. Now, I just recently was lucky enough to see you out in San Diego at Traffic and Conversion for a bit, and that was a lot of fun. How did you have a great time at the conference?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was kind of a different experience for me, but this at least this year. But it was good. It was really good. Just touching base with a lot of people and like yourself, and it was really good.
It was cool. Like, I knew you were going to be there, but I had this walk down Fourth Ave in the morning, and I would pass this coffee shop every day. And so I was walking. I stopped in a couple times, and I was headed that way and walked towards the coffee shop, and there you were at the coffee shop. So it was really cool to run into you there and then see you at the conference. But well, let's get started, man. I gave you kind of a brief overview, but tell everyone a little bit more about EJ and who you are and what you do professionally.
Yeah, so I kind of started in the marketing gig around 2008, and have worked for different agencies and stuff along the way. Went and got my degree in business with an online emphasis in visual technologies, and that kind of has led me here. So when I started my company in 2020, it was not a planned thing. Uh, December earlier that year, it was kind of like one of those gut feelings that was like, it was really like a punch in the face of like, you need to go off and do your own thing, or you need to just change what you're currently doing now. And so that's what led me to actually start Blaze, and it's been awesome since. From the beautiful state of Utah, live in southern Utah, currently in San Diego for a little while longer, but yeah, I'm going to be back home here pretty soon. Excited to get back home. But
I'm sure your wife and your 4 little ones are going to be really excited to have dad back home.
yeah, no, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, cool.
Absolutely.
Cool. So I mentioned that you're in the outdoor space. I know that's a big part of you personally and professionally. So what are some of your main products and services, and really who do they help?
Yeah, so at Blaze, we actually have, I kind of consider us, a full service agency for outdoor companies. And so we don't necessarily do like hardcore PR and stuff. It's mainly digital stuff. So we actually do content creation. We do a lot of email marketing and then digital ads. Digital ads was actually our core at Blaze. That's what I kind of started the company under, was just a digital ads agency, and that was it. But since then, I've had a lot of friends along the way that I would shuffle work to and stuff. And now, a couple of years later, they now work for me, or I guess work with me is probably a better way to say it. And so we just been crushing it along the way. And yeah, so I mean, we do all of those components in house, which is actually nice. So we can kind of control the whole picture. Our whole motto is, we're your bolt-on marketing team. And in a sense, that really has a lot of truth and a lot of, stuff to it.
I like how you call it the bolt-on marketing team, because I often try to figure out how do I position myself? How should we position ourselves? Because we do a lot of similar things for different companies in either e-commerce or home services space, and I often use that fractional CMO term, right? Like I'm going to come in, I'm going to help advise you, and moving from a place where I would typically say, I can do that for you, and moving to that, hey, we can get this done for you type of thing. I think that really fits well with saying, a bolt-on digital agency is kind of like, we don't have to be inside of your company. We're just kind of like, here's your marketing team, and we just attach ourselves and filter ourselves into the business, right?
Yeah, and a lot of that too was the fact that, your traditional agency, your traditional digital agency does not really care too deeply about the clients, about the client success and all that kind of stuff. It's literally just numbers. If you go to a lot of these, a lot of agencies, they're just going to plug you in and throw ads up. And if you want changes on the ads, you're going to pay for those changes extra on top of your contract. And you're going to, it's like a nickel and dime thing. And you're literally just a number, right? And so one of my things, I was like, if I'm going to do this, we're going to do this right with the client in mind first, so that we are, and so how do we do that? It's like, hey, we're not your agency. We're your bolt-on marketing team. And so it kind of really brings the aspect of like, no matter how big we get, we're still going to have that small time feel of like, we're just working one-on-one.
I love that. We had a guy, I'm in a networking group, and he was an Edward Jones financial advisor, right? And he used to always say during his little 60-second commercial, he would say, "We like to bring Wall Street to Main Street," right? And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool! It's like this big time feel, bringing it home, bringing it local." So then, obviously with marketing, everything's like Madison Ave, right? So I couldn't come up with a good Ave, but I always try to say like, we're bringing Madison Ave to Main Street, right? And so no matter how big you get, you're still able to help these different people, but kind of bring it home. So that bolt-on marketing team just makes a lot of sense. So I'm gonna have to steal it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. So obviously you're doing something right? You're growing. You're doing all these things, and you've done it in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, I know you've been around the space, but for Blaze has not been around a really long time to be doing so well. So you're doing something right. So is there one particular client win or client testimonial? What is something that has really stood out to you that maybe a past client or current client has said about you guys?
I don't know. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that people have said, like, we would not be where we are today without you. For example, or, because there's some clients that have been with me actually for a long time. So from the agency I used to work for, they actually followed me over. And they were like, we didn't feel like we could do this without you, on that front. And so that's kind of what really kind of kickstarted the success, in a quick manner. But then since then, some of the clients we've gained along the way, they're like, we don't know like how we didn't do this without you guys. Like, that's really the theme of what people are like saying and stuff. And I know we have, a couple testimonials up on our website that kind of goes into a little more detail on that aspect. But the big thing is just, we are so invested in people's success that, that we probably shouldn't, but we kind of take it personal, when they don't succeed. And we go above and beyond and do whatever is necessary to try to achieve that success, in a reasonable format. But that's really the bulk of it.
I think you said something that's really amazing, and I think was really, really important, and I don't want to be glanced over, is that like taking it personally when the client, when you don't have that winning campaign, right? Or when things aren't always going right. A lot of times people and marketing agencies are guilty of setting these expectations for business owners that, hey, you hire us and everything's going to be magic. We're going to turn your business around and we're going to make you make millions of dollars. And I'm a big baseball fan, as a lot of people know. And I often liken what we do to a professional baseball player. Like if you get on base 3 or 4 times out of 10, you're going to the Hall of Fame, right? You were like one of the greatest that ever lived, which means if you not strike out, but if you get out 5 or 6 out of 10 times, you're going to the Hall of Fame, right? Which doesn't sound like a really awesome success rate, but in our professional lives as marketing agency owners, we should have the responsibility to tell business owners we're not perfect. Not everything. If we hit home runs every time we stepped up to the plate, like we would have already taken over the world, right? Like we're going to do the best we can, but the more we can invest in the success of that business and really understand and learn the business, the better our chances of winning, right?
Yep, 100%. And building expectation along the way. And that's actually one of the reasons why we kind of built the framework that we did internally, is to help build that expectations, but it gives a huge amount of clarity around like every step of the way. So like every campaign isn't geared towards driving sales, for example.
Sure.
We may have some campaigns that it's only to get like a video views, right? Or another campaign that's to get only traffic. Like that's the whole thing. Purpose of that campaign is to drive traffic to the website. And so building clarity with that and getting them super involved so that it's absolutely clear on what we're doing every step of the way is something that we really try to hone in on. Because there's there's so many agencies that I've dove in and on auditing their stuff. And when you audit somebody's stuff too, that's the other thing that people have to realize, is that I can go in and audit probably anybody's stuff and I'm going to find holes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to be the same thing for us.
Mm-hmm.
If another agency comes in and audits because our processes are different and the way we think are different, and they don't know all the ins and outs of what we have done in the past versus what we're trying now and like all that kind of stuff, right? But a lot of these agencies, man, they make a lot of promises that's based around one case study that happened 3 years ago, or something like that. Well, it's like, 3 years ago, that was pre-pandemic. Things were kicking, or during the pandemic too. Like a lot of these people are going to be touting all this stuff around like, in 2020 during the pandemic years, we ran digital ads and we got a 20-to-1 return the whole year. And it's like, well, yeah, so did everybody else. Anybody that just put up an ad that had any kind of legitimate product was successful during that time frame. It was very, very, very easy to achieve that success. Even with the iOS 14 update, you would still have massive success with it. And so that's why everybody couldn't hold on to inventory, and then they overbuy inventory, which then led them into the predicament that a lot of companies are in now. That's actually going to be driving a lot of people out of business. But yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was so funny when you said that, like the company that does a case study during the pandemic, and you're like, oh, we increased their business, to like 20x, right? And then I'm like, yeah, but you were selling face masks. Like how hard was that, right? So
yeah,
no, it's funny. All right, well, this is kind of a newer section in Meet the Experts, one of our newer questions, and we like to call it like how you earned it, learned it, or prove your authority. So just basically, you said you were around digital working for agencies since 2008, and you've kind of, so you've been in this space for a long time, but any, any important titles, certifications, or industry accolades you've gotten?
Um, uh, I've actually spoken on the digital marketer stage at the partner day. So I mean
Yeah.
that's one thing. I would say that I am a certified digital marketing specialist. Um, and I got all those certifications through digital marketer. As you know, digital marketer is really all the certifications, quote unquote, outside of like SEM Rush. I'm a certified partner with them. We are a marketing partner with Facebook, and we do hold a uh, God, the words escape me, but with Google, like we are a Google partner as well. So digital ads specialized there. So we do have like all those specializations. We are a certified partner with Klaviyo. And so we do a lot of in-depth training and stuff with them specifically and with PostScript. And so those are going to be kind of some of the main things. I do have my degree in business with the IT emphasis, and so I actually have a lot of IT type certifications too. I've really a Swiss Army knife when it comes to a lot of different aspects. With me being in the military, I'm an IT guy, and so I've been able to go in, and I do have my master's degree in cybersecurity, which is also a very interesting thing that people don't necessarily know about me. So, but yes, 2008, that's when I started getting into SEO. And ever since then, I've kind of just worked my way and just tried. So a lot of my credentialing would just say I have a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm. No, dude, I mean, that's
So
perfect. Yeah,
yeah,
you and I we really are like, I think we're like, brothers from a different mother sometimes, because like I was an IT director for a grocery store a while back, and I too have a lot of background in the IT world. It wasn't my favorite. It was not my forte. Like I never really enjoyed it so much as I do with marketing. But yeah, just experience is probably the best certification that you can have that doesn't have a certification attached to it, right? Like
yep,
just doing the work for others, real world, is great. And
yep,
but I, even still, your certifications, your partnerships, those aren't, don't discount those, because it really says like, hey, I can work in these things, in these areas. And then yeah, so that's awesome. Well, we have just a couple more questions. The episode always flies. I can't believe we're already done almost. But you know, this one is one I love to ask, because I think that this is where you are going to kind of shine through. But just tell me something that you're really thankful for.
oh man, so many things, so many things. First and foremost, like my wife for being so patient with me throughout all this. Like when I my first day at the job, so to speak, with my business was literally the day the world shut down. It was Friday the 13th too, which is even better. So it was like March 13th, 2020, right? She was like, "Oh boy, here we go." But she's been extremely supportive. And then really the support of the team and stuff is, as I've had to deal with multiple so being in the National Guard, I've, I've had to do a lot of stuff lately. The National Guard's been pulled on and has been called upon a lot over the last couple of years. And so for me being, deployed to Washington, D.C. for the inauguration and then the current mobilization I'm on currently right now, um, there's a lot of aspects that like my team has really stepped up to the plate to support, and then clients as well. Clients have been extremely supportive throughout this whole process. There's been some up and downs a little bit this year with it, but at the end of the day, for the most part, the support from my wife and then my team and my clients has been phenomenal. So in the unit I'm currently part of it right now too, and I'm kind of speaking more in the military aspect just because I'm living it right now. Um, but they too have been extremely supportive for my goals and for what I'm doing on the civilian side. And so, man, I don't know. I don't want to take up too much time, but very, very, very thankful for so many people that have helped me and supported me along the way with everything I've done. It's brought me to tears a lot, actually. Um, when I sit down and really think about it, I'm just like, man, I am one lucky SOB. So,
Blessed, man. That's fantastic.
yeah.
It's funny you said that because I had never had anyone cry on Meet the Experts until last week. We had an episode, and we had a tears of joy moment at that same question. So I'm like, this is such a keeper question for the interview. I'd love to hear what people are thankful for. It just kind of makes me realize, like, I love doing this, and I love to help others tell their story because it does give everyone a chance to kind of reflect and just let it, just tell people, like, it's part of your story, who helped you get to where you're getting, and that's awesome. All right, well, one last question, and you know what, I apologize, I have a ticker for you, and I'm going to show it the rest of the way. If anybody wants a 2-hour digital ad strategy consultation, go to blazedigitalsolutions.com and apply. If you are a business that specializes in the outdoor space, whether it's, give me some outdoor spaces like mountain biking, skiing, rock climbing, whatever. What are some examples?
Yeah, hunting, fishing are kind of really the bulk of what we do. But yeah, backpacking, really just outdoorsman, sportsman's type stuff. And so, and the digital ad strategy is really going to be based around our 5-level framework. We call it the 5 levels to ad domination, is what it's called. Actually, it's something I actually have developed while I've been out here. It's where it steps through every aspect of. So we kind of base it around kind of like the CVJ, right? Customer value journey.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like we put it into levels. So like level 1 is like people who've never heard of us. Level 2 is people who have engaged but haven't been to our website yet, right? So they engage with our social media platforms, stuff like that. And then level 3 is like, okay, we're targeting people who have actually been to the website. Whether if we drove them, level 2, we maybe drove them to like a blog post or something like that, right? Level 3, we're going to be retargeting them to go to a product page if they haven't been to already. And then level 4 is, as all your abandoned cart sequences. And then level 5 is kind of kicking it back into for like all of our current customers, cross-selling, upselling. So that framework, that's a very, very, very simplified version of it.
Yep.
Because, at level 1, we actually build around like 50 audiences based around kind of the targeting that we're going to want to go to along, down the line and stuff. So that's one of the things that, for that free 2 hours, we're going to help build that strategy for you, at least the beginnings of it. So that regardless if you do anything with us or not, like, you're going to walk away with a document that's going to tell how people are going to be aware of you and how to, basically kind of acquire customers. So, and Jay, all too much about that. It's just, we put it in a way that makes sense for media buyers like myself. So
I love it. Yeah. We do the half-day boot camp. We do all the front end, figuring out who your target audience is. We do the avatar, do the CBJ, and I think it's really important. And I tell our clients, look, at the end of the session, whether you hire us or not, you'll have these documents that you can take to any marketing agency, or just even if you try to bring it in-house, any other agency or person with marketing background is going to thank you for having the foundational stuff already done. Like, the research is there, right? So that's huge. One last question. What are some common questions that you get, or maybe some objections even, or just things people aren't sure of? But I'm sure there's some repeated questions when you're talking to people that maybe you can answer now, kind of in advance. If somebody's watching this and they're like, oh, I got to call this guy, or I got to apply for this session. What are some things you hear all the time?
We actually kind of created a love-hate addendum to our contracts that surround some of this. So some of the stuff that, we kind of see where we are not the cheapest. I feel like we're very competitively priced based on our industry and the experience that our team has. Um, but we're not the cheapest, right? And so that's one of the things that don't have to, don't really understand. A lot of people, they want to pay for the least amount and get the most out of it, right? But they don't realize that when you pay for experience and you pay for a lot of that kind of stuff, um, you're going to pay a little higher price for that. And you probably as well kind of concede to that a little bit too, because at the end of the day, you're buying a team.
Mhm.
You're going to get access to a team of 7 to 8 individuals, likely, or at minimum 4 to 5 individuals that have a lot of experience in the marketing space for their explicit field. And we're going to dive deep into the business. And unfortunately, building a business is not an overnight thing. Like, Blaze started in 2020, and over the last couple of years, we've built a lot of success, but that doesn't, we didn't talk about the 15 years prior to that kind of built up into that, all the relationships built, all the, experience and, skills and all that kind of stuff that I built along the way to be able to do that. And so it's never an overnight thing. And when companies think they can just create a product, throw it up, and then magically people are going to buy, that's a fallacy. We have to actually build a plan around customer acquisition. We have to test it. That's the other thing too, is like people don't realize that they need a testing budget these days.
Yeah.
And a lot of these AI stuff, with Google and Facebook, Facebook's going a lot to the machine learning stuff. So with that, you need 90 days, I would say, to really test to test a lot of the stuff in there to make sure it's going to work. So you got to be willing to fork over not only the money for the management side of it and for, basically paying a wage, on top of, your ad spend and all that kind of stuff. And then realize that in 90 days, guess what? I could be completely out of everything. And so with that, that's probably the biggest thing. And then the return, we do talk a lot about getting a 300% return within 90 days, right? We don't always hit that. We've hit that, I would say, probably 85% of the time, because sometimes we get a product that just, literally, like, I probably shouldn't throw anybody around this, but there's been clients we've taken and their product is just a weird thing. And they're like, yeah, I just know it's going to work because, I sent it out to my buddies and they all love it. So I produced, 1,000 of these now and just need to sell them. And it's like, oh, and then realize, after we get 5,000 or 10,000 deep into it, they're like, why haven't we sold any? It's like, well, nobody wants to buy your product. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, we can continue down, we can refine things, we can kind of keep rolling as long as you have the capacity to be persistent with it. But it's going to take a lot longer to be able to find exactly, and maybe, the product just isn't a fit for the market that you're trying to go for. So,
Yeah.
And I've done that a lot. I worked with a supplement company. That was the one thing, like in the outdoor space, we have a few different supplement companies. So yeah, people want supplements, but when you don't have the budgets they do, or when you come in 10 years after a lot of these, or 20 years in some instances, after all these guys have built up their customer base for that long, and now you're going to try to just compete, think you're just going to immediately take business away from these companies, like, you got another thing coming for you. You got to be a little more aggressive, and you got to be willing to dump a lot of cash into making a huge presence. And a lot of people think too that online is the only way to make the business go, and that's a complete fallacy as well, because there's expos and there's all these different avenues, like especially in the outdoor space. There's people who don't go online. They literally still read the magazines. They still read the Muley Freaks and the Trots Unlimited and like all that kind of stuff. And so, like, there's a lot of print things that people still do, and they don't go online. They don't have a Facebook account. They don't, they might Google stuff here and there when they're trying to find local business, stuff like that.
Sure.
But so there's a whole nother world that still exists, that people just kind of tend to forget about. And so I would just say those are kind of, I guess, the biggest things. When we kind of come in, we kind of help establish some of that. We try to identify some of those holes in the beginning as quick as possible. But that's one of the things that sometimes you just have to put forth some cash to test it and realize you get 90 days into it, you might be $30,000, $30,000 in the hole, and you've sold nothing, but you would never have known if it was going to sell until you have actually tested it. So, yeah, it's some of the bigger ones there. We
It
don't
happens.
guarantee any return. Yeah, for that reason. We can't control people. We can't put a gun to people's head and literally make them buy stuff. And so it's all about, do you have a good product? Can we position it and message it well enough for people to make a buying decision? And the other thing too is that, I know I might be going over time, but the thing that kind of frustrates me a little bit with certain people is they think, oh, I'm just going to throw ads up and I'm just going to do it. But they refuse to do email marketing. They refuse to get deep into like SMS. They don't want to offend anybody. And so they don't take the steps that they need to take. And then they blame it on us when they don't succeed. And it's like, well, guys, like digital ads is like literally a piece of the pie here. We have all these other avenues that we need to do to properly follow up and ensure that we're pushing people down and we're continually being in front of them in multiple ways. And a lot of people, man, they just don't get that, and they don't want to invest, or they don't, for the sake of not offending somebody or being too annoying. They really don't do the things they have to do to be successful. And so we're working with somebody right now that's in that boat, is they refuse to do email marketing. And it's like, dude, like we could shore up, 70% of all the money you're going to make is going to be through the follow-up. That does include retargeting ads, but a huge part of that is going to be email marketing, and SMS and stuff that's going to help recoup a lot of that.
We had an e-commerce company we still work with that, it took a while to get them going. And, but one of the things we realized early on was, we needed to drive a lot of our interactions through email. Once we got them on the list, it was like, let's build the list and then let's nurture them and drive them to a human interaction instead of trying to keep everything online, like you said. So, and sales up 500% this year. So it's amazing and it's not all coming from email, but just keeping in touch, putting touch. Somebody was saying recently, it might've been Qasim, you need 2,000 touch points or something. Now it used to be like, oh, you need to touch somebody 5 to 12 times. Like now you got to like show them 2,000 times before they really get it and take action. So, well, cool, man. EJ, yeah, we're a little bit over, but you know what? When the conversation gets good, that's what happens, and that's why I'm never opposed to it. But man, I can't wait to see you again and give you a big bear hug. I hope you get to get back home to the family very soon. I'm sure you miss the heck out of them. And thanks so much for coming on today. This was fun.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. Very, very grateful for you. And can't wait to see you, man. Hopefully this next year. So
we'll do it. All right, buddy. Take care. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. If you would like to be a future guest on Meet the Experts, just visit guests.howto.agency. We are working on some big plans for the new year. That domain is probably going to change. We've got a big overhaul coming to the show very, very soon. But for now, we'd love to have you. We always ask that if you are a business owner who's in an established business with a proven track record of sales, you would make a great guest. So guests.howto.agency. This was great. We are a little over on time. Our next episode is 2 days from now. We're doing 2 this week. That doesn't always happen, but we are doing another episode this Thursday with a really, really cool nonprofit that's actually going to be really eye-opening in the medical and health space. So I'll see you guys in a couple days. Take care.